Hello. So I see I have some early birds in the chat. Welcome. Anne Marie and Valerie. And it's always so nice to know that I'm not alone talking to myself, because any of you who have done lives know that that's what it feels like sometimes. So welcome. And I hope that I will finish it now. So if you weren't, hi Mjolka. So if you weren't in yesterday's live, I started with the YouTube hop with everybody else making this book that I was inspired by Anna, who did the YouTube video for the Stamperia live, or not live, Stamperia YouTube hop. Hi, Vina, Sky Blue. And so I started off by making the cover like she made her cover by joining two of these little book covers from the Lady Vagabond sheet of paper that looks like this. It's the 12 by 12. It also comes in 8 by 8, but for this purpose I'm using the 12 by 12, and I have glued the two together. And I yesterday decided I couldn't be bothered to start the craft launch and get this tape out, which is on top of a box on top of some shelves. And hi, Katarina. So I decided that I wouldn't be bothered to get this tape out, and I would make my own spine by using some normal black cardstock and some of the Stamperia gauze that I have glued on here. So I went to great pains to making my own. And you know what? This would work absolutely perfectly for one of my large, and I'm just going to roll backwards quickly to grab one of them, to work one of my large mini albums that I have made. Let me just open this one up. Because I make quite a few mini albums from scratch, I'm quite comfortable with making spines and things like that. But normally my albums are quite big and quite thick and quite heavy, with lots of flips and flaps and folds and pockets and books and things like that. And normally what I do is what's called a hinged spine. And it means that you can then lay your pages flat when you open them up. But to do a hinged spine, you need space in between each page, and it's quite a fiddly procedure. And to do it on a spine that is not much more than a centimeter, it just seemed really silly, because I would have probably managed to get, I don't know, 2 pages in there. And then I realized after I had finished my live yesterday, and I wasn't happy with the spine because I had to reduce the concept. The concept of this spine was that I was going to have a glued peak fold followed by another peak fold which wasn't glued, to be able to have my page glued here and then my page glued there. And it meant that I would have had just about the whole 12 by 12 squished up together, which turned out to be fatter than my spine. And then, of course, there wouldn't have been anywhere to be able to add my pages. So I reduced it down to 4 like this, that I was going to then add my pages to. And on yesterday's live, hi Terry, I had already pre-cut these, and I was going to join them to each one of these little V's over there, like so, which would have worked really well and would have fitted in my book. But I have decided that it's really rather cumbersome and really rather stiff, and that actually that wouldn't be a comfortable solution. And I was trying to work out why on earth this didn't work for me yesterday. apart from the fact that I ran out of time, we only had an hour each yesterday. And so I've joined the ranks of Olga and a few others on the Saturday Hops who haven't finished their project. So I don't actually mind that at all. We were joking around that I always finish. And yes, so now I have joined the ranks of not finishing, which actually, let me tell you, is quite a relief because the pressure on having to finish in an hour and a half is quite hectic for those of you who haven't done a live before. So now I sit with these gorgeous papers, and my other solution is to glue them all together. And I realized what my problem was when I was trying to create my spine is that I am restricted by the width of this spine. And whenever I have created an album like this one that I showed you, I always create my pages first, simply because the way I work is I like to fit all my photographs in first. So I actually put photographs in my albums. When I design an album, it's usually for an event that I have attended or a program that I have done or a class that I've attended with someone like Finnebear or Tim Holtz. And so I like my projects to actually be usable. So for me to create an album for the sake of creating an album doesn't really work for me because I like things to go in chronological order, and I never really know how many photographs I'm going to have for my album until I've printed all my album photographs and then made all my pages, and then I design my covers. So for example, this one is that thick. And I'm just going to roll back and grab a few more albums so that you can see right up to my one that is my fattest album. So I have got, here's my Truth album, and you can see I make them always the same height, but it's the width. So when I'm making each album, let's just roll this out of the way. Actually, I can't do that because it's stuck. So let's just slide that way. And I really only want you to see the spine, so it doesn't matter. So as you can see here, each one of my album spines is a completely different size because once I have made the inside, I then design my covers around it. So that's what stymied me yesterday, is the fact that I had a set album spine and I need to conform to that. And I've never done that before. Blow me over with a feather. So it's, I promised everybody yesterday, and a deal is a deal, that I would come on and I would finish off my project. What I will do ultimately is download both videos and do a short version of this once I am finished. So the conclusion I have come to is that I need to make some sort of support for my spine over there, and so I did root out my tape. And this tape, if you are in South Africa, is the e-tape. I'm afraid I don't know where to get it in the rest of the world. I'm sure it is available, but I purchased mine from Shamila, and so what I'm just doing is I've stuck it to my, just lightly, I've stuck it to my craft mat, my mini craft mat, and I'm just cutting through it over there. And then I'm going to measure slightly less. And so the whole thing is slightly more than 14 centimeters. So I'm going to cut on 14 centimeters like so. And I am then going to strengthen the spine with this bookbinding tape. I'm sure if you Google bookbinding tape, you will find whatever it is that you need. And we need a little bit thicker than my ruler. So what I'm going to do is remove my roll of tape from my cutting mat, remove this little bit of excess that I obviously, goodness knows what I was doing, cutting such funny shapes off there, but I'm going to keep that and I'm going to stick it to my roll like so, because waste not, want not. And I'm going to cut this support just a bit wider than than my ruler is, because that will be more than enough. There we go. Hopefully I cut that through. Yes, Moika, those spines are quite tricky, but I've never had a problem making spines before, because as I say, I make them bespoke to the actual pages that I have put in. So now what I'm going to do is just support, so it's sticky, and I'm just going to pop it on there, and I made it, as I said, slightly shorter because I don't want it sticking out on each side. And the reason for the fabric is just to support the paper. Already my spine there is double because I have doubled up the two printed album covers, so I'm just now creasing my fabric to make it a little bit more pliable. And then I am now going to start working on my book, and I'm using this as my cover. I could use that, but this is of course my favorite because it was my granny's album cover, so I'm a little bit more partial to this one. And then what I've also decided to do is to include some blank pages for me to be able to decorate, because I really love these papers, and my whole idea was to be able to use both sides of each page. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to interleaf them with one of these, and I'm actually going to glue them together like that to give extra space. So one like this that I very carefully cut, because this piece of paper has different colors. I'm now going to turn it inside out that way, so I'm losing these sides, but it is repeated on the inside there, so that's not the end of the world for me. I still have my little belly band that I put in yesterday, which has got the little envelope, and on this one I have the pocket that I adhered. These still need some decorating. They are still very plain. And so what I'm going to do is I'm ultimately going to have one plain, one patterned, one plain, one patterned, one plain, one patterned, one plain, one patterned, and glue all of those together. And then in order to keep them in here, I'm going to adhere this to that side and that to that side, and that will give me my book. So before I go ahead and start gluing all of those together, I want to play with some stamps. So I'm going to pull out my plain sheets, and I'm going to add a little bit of detail to them before I carry on. And I have got some leftovers from the bits that I chopped to get my sheets. I've also sat and fussy cut some of the fussy cut sheets, and then of course I have got the calligraphy stamp set. So I'm going to decorate some of these pages with some of the calligraphy stamp set. I'm also going to leave some plain so that I can put some little photographs or notes, or if I give this book away, somebody else can use it to add little notes and journal in it or something. And hello Parivati, welcome. And Kinga, who's Kinga? Is Parivati Kinga? I'm not sure. So I am then going to play with a couple of different colors of ink. I have got some brown ink, I have got some black ink, and I have got some gray ink. And I'm just going to show you what the different colors will look like on the brown paper. And I have got somewhere, yes, hidden in my Bermuda triangle of my own creation. What is an album? I wasn't watching before the full video. Okay, so the album Parivati is, I am making a little mini album from the Lady Vagabond paper sheet that has these book covers, and on the other side they're little photo windows, and I have used 2 of them to join together to create an album cover. And then I am using the calligraphy line also from Stamperia to create the pages to go inside, but then I wanted to decorate it more. It's all very well to use the pattern paper, but I feel like I want to play a little bit more. So I am adding the calligraphy line stamps to the paper to just play. That's what I love about Stamperia, is that their papers, no matter whether it belongs to one particular line or another, they are quite often quite interchangeable. And I'm going to start with my lightest ink, and I'm going to ink up, which you can't even see the ink because it's such a pale gray. I'm going to ink up this alphabet line. It's a beautiful script line, and I'm going to just print it over there for you to see. And thanks Lola V for being the thumbs up person today. I always forget to say, please give a thumbs up. It's good for the YouTube algorithms. So you can see it's very, very pale. It's just visible. It's a nice subtle look on the brown paper. And let me just go grab my inky binky, which is hooked on my trolley. And it's just a cotton rag to take the ink off. And then I'm going to show you what the brown looks like. And I'm working from light to dark simply because if you go with your darkest color first, it might influence your second color. Hi, Anne. And so I'll show you what the brown is going to look like. And it doesn't look, probably from your perspective, because as we were discussing on Jess's live, the camera colors lie blatantly. So this is slightly darker and it's warmer than the gray, which looks more like a shadow. And then of course I'm going to do the black, which will be much darker. And you can even see when I ink up, you can see the black on the stamp. So let's just do that in the middle over there, because this is just a test piece for me to show you. I'm not really going to be using this, but it's just, if you're going to be stamping and using stamps, it's just a nice way to play with different layers to give different effects. So you can see there's the gray, there's the black, and there's the brown. So one can build layers just with stamping to create some interest on your pages. So that's what I'm going to be doing with all of these pages. Not all of them, but some of them. Just for something else to do and something else to show. So let's grab a page, and this is bigger than my piece of paper is. So I'm going to grab this is a very long, this is a 12-inch block that I bought in South Africa. So it wasn't a particular brand. In South Africa, there are companies that you can go and order this acrylic from, usually signage companies. And so you can actually, I'm just going to turn my roll so it's turning towards the mat. So you can, I want my gray, you can order your own acrylic blocks to suit you. And I must say, this is one of my favorites, because quite a few times, and you have a long stamp like this, your acrylic block, you have to use it at an angle, because even this one doesn't quite fit with my acrylic block. I could have actually used my ruler. I have done that before. For these long stamps, I have used my ruler. So that's just putting it out there for you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp on this edge and try and make it straight. Visually straighten it up and squish it everywhere. Do some stamp CPR with my thumb Make sure I've pressed everywhere. There we go. And it is darker than my first sample. Why? Because I have been printing with black. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to go clean it again. So that's why I told you to work from light to dark, because it's very hard to go the other way around. And now I'm going to add a brown, almost like drop shadow to this one. So I'm going to try and line it up-ish, but not really. I'm going to just purposefully stamp it slightly further down from where I had it before. Lalavi says when she was first stamping, she was using a clear CD cover. Yes, anything works. Anything goes. I just like the thickness of these because they don't bend. You can buy thinner ones. So I just like, it's more interesting for me to have the two colors and the double up. And then while I've got the brown going, I'm going to grab another page, and this time I'm going to stamp along the bottom of this page. If you've ever been in any of my videos before, be it live or pre-recorded, you will know that I like to repeat things. So we don't want it upside down. I might be dyslexic, but I can tell when something's upside down. Last time I went with the A and the Z off the page. This time I'm going to start with my A in the middle or at the beginning, and my Y is just going to disappear off the page. Yes, acrylic blocks are an absolute bonus. They really, really are. There we go. So we've added that there. And I've got 4 pages and I've got quite a few stamps. So I'm just going to, when I say I'm cleaning it, what I'm actually doing, I'm not really cleaning the stamp. I'm just taking the excess ink off the stamp so that I can pop it back in its place. And it won't make everything dirty. And now I think I'm going to play with this bigger one, which fits on here. And I'm going to use the brown again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp on one of the pages I haven't stamped on before. And I know I'm stamping this many times. It's because it's very hard to see if your ink is on there, but you can hold it to the light. And if it's shiny and catching the light everywhere, you know you have got ink in places. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp not quite in the middle, but slightly off to one side of this page, and give it a good going over of CPR. I'm not standing up, but and did some jelly printing. You know, Anne, you're very brave in my eyes, because to be honest, jelly printing and me, we're not friends. I make far too much mess, and I'm not talking about the actual print. It's the everything else. It's the cleaning off. It's the, oh my soul. Lalavi did some beautiful jelly prints the other day. Really, really big one. She's got a huge press. So now I'm doing what's called second generation printing. So I haven't re-inked my stamp. I have printed it off. So I am expecting to get, and I think I'm going to use it on this one, I'm expecting to get a really light version of this. And let's put it down in this corner over here, and we'll go off this time. So yes, I must say, Anne, I do enjoy the YouTube lives. I was crafting along with everybody. They started at 1 p.m. here, my time. And it really is nice to have somebody chatting in the background, and you can grab your laptop and give an answer. Now, that is so faint, you guys won't be able to see it, I don't think, at all. Yes, maybe, depending on the light. It is there. It's just subtly there. And if I had done it with the black, it would have been even more visible. But sometimes I just want a texture in the background. So I'm going to I'm not pressing very hard. I'm just lightly dragging that over. And I'm going to do the same thing off this side. So I will have various intensities. Hello, Sue. I will have various intensities of colors of the same thing. So that one's darker, that one's very light, and this one is your darkest. So you will have different, and I'm going to use the second generation off the end again. So this page will have very subtle, less subtle, and quite prominent inking over there. So there are various ways to use the same stamps, the same color. And now, because I know my ink pad is clean, I'm going to go into my gray, and I'm going to ink that one up. I'm basically playing with stamps. And then I'll get back to the task of putting. So now over these two very light prints, I'm going to do a darker print off the edge. So I will get back to putting my book together, but I thought, seeing as now I've got the time, and I don't have a time limit because I'm not in a hop, so we'll just play until I feel, there we go, until I feel like I have done enough. And let's incorporate the gray coming off this page. So as I said, I like repetition. Repetition of shapes, repetition of colors, repetition of, in this case, stamps. And I'm going to have it hopefully the right way up, coming off the edge of this page down here. And there we go. So I think, oh, we've got a page with nothing. We can't have that. Let's have some repetition on the go. So ink up with the gray, have it the right way up, and let's have it going off the top and off the side. There we go. Okay, and let's wipe this one down before I put it back. Hey, Zeffy. Nice to see you in here, Zeffy. I am doing extra pages that are going into an album, Zeph. I started this yesterday on the YouTube hop that we had as a group, the Together We Are Stronger group, but I didn't finish. I'm now in that famous category of not finishing within my lifetime, but hey ho, I'm in good company there, so I'm not bothered. And this acrylic block is too small. Let me go grab another one. Okay, here we go. Here is one of my thinner ones, but it's got the lines on. So it does, if you're doing writing, it does help to keep you straight. So I will use the lines. I will eyeball it and try and, not that it really matters, make it straight. So I'm making the extra pages that are going to go in between my printed pages, and because I'm starting again with the stamp, it's still clean. I am going to start with my lightest color, which is gray, and these stamps are from Stamperia. For those of you who are new in here today, the calligraphy line came out at the same time as Lady Vagabond, and I'm going to have, because that one is going off the edge, I'm going to have this one kind of going off the edge. And so I like combining the different paper ranges and the different stamps and making everything work, because oh, Zeffy, I'm sorry you're feeling despondent. I know it's so hard for everybody with these lockdowns, and I'm going to repeat this one off the edge there. A lot of people are really struggling with lockdown and families stuck in different countries and different parts of the country due to where they work and people being on their own. That's why we're doing these lives. We started them in March last year, then we tapered them off, and now with the world going mad again, we're back. We're back, we're back, we're back. Okay, so I'm trying to link this one with that one. That one was stamped in brown, this one is stamped in grey. So what I'm trying to do is just link things up and almost create like my own printed paper. Thanks, Zephy. I love my Lady Vagabond as well. She is just such fun to play with. Right, so now I have got, let's just line those out the way so I don't get them on. I have got 4 pages that I have now stamped with various things, and I am going to start putting my album together. And let's just get my lids on and pop them out of the way. I can always come back and add stamping or stenciling later, and there is some stenciling that I wanted to do, and actually when I think about it, let me do it now while there's still space on here and I haven't filled it up completely. So getting back to what I was saying about repetition, when I designed this stencil, I copied this flower, which is probably quite hard to see because I've now got paint all over it, from my granny's book cover. So it repeats. If you like that concept, then you will also notice that in the paper range, the incredible lady that made the behind the scenes, the lady that works on the computer, she's just a genius in my opinion. She took this flower pattern, pulled it off the front of my granny's book, and she's actually made it into a paper pattern on the back of, and do I have a sample behind me? No, I don't. It's on the back of one of the papers. So what I want to do is repeat some of that in my pages that I am now doing, and I think I'm going to do that over here. So I'm going to remove this. So I was last time using my wording, and I've got these little pieces of low tack tape to stop me going where I don't want to, and I'm just going to do it in one color. And this time around I'm going to do it in brown, and I've got my ink pads on the non-sticky sheet off my table, so off screen, so just bear with me while I go and grab some ink. And you can use the brushes. I quite often find the brushes will give a better print. In fact, I think I might even switch to a brush because these are very fine and very delicate. And if you twist too much like I am doing, you can accidentally break the little tiny leaf veins. Oh, yes, Zephy, it must be so hard to have families so far away. And I know, Zephy, South Africa's got that new strain, so it must be so stressful for you to be worrying about your husband so far away. It doesn't help that you're not alone in that issue, because when you are alone at home, you are alone. It doesn't help if you think about the hundreds of other people who are in the same boat. It helps, but it doesn't help. I mean, I have my father and mother-in-law back in South Africa too, so we are in constant contact just to make sure every day that they are okay. Right, let's see, lift and see. Oh, hello, Gabby. Right, I need it a little bit darker over here. So there we go. I do like that. Now, of course, I need to repeat that. So I have got these little guys are like a little corner piece, and I'm going to have them coming in at the top corner of this one. They're like a little corner piece on their own. So I don't know if you saw Sharmila's post. Sharmila is on my design team for Lady Vagabond, and Sharmila also used these roses on her travel trunk as the patterning for the suitcase or travel trunk on the outside. I know, Terry, there's so many things that I have designed subtly in these things. And thanks, Gabby, for the thumbs up. And yes, Terry, I can quite understand if you now need this, especially if you're a matchy girl like I am. And I think a lot of people didn't actually even realize. They just thought that these were flowers that go that are just pretty, that crawl around, they're a creeper that creep around the outside of the door. But there we go. I like that. So let's bring it in. And again, these two are a repeat of those two. So I'm going to leave that covered, and I'm going to just turn this upside down and put it in that corner. In the corner, Jack Horner. Yes, craft shopping is a hobby in itself, Zephy. I can quite relate. I am very grateful that there are amazing craft shops here in Berlin. Okay, I haven't been out the building since lockdown. But when it reopens, you can rest assured that the first place that I will go will be across town to Metliebe to go and see what she has managed to get hold of while lockdown was in place. And I want that bottom one a little bit darker. There we go. So we have it in that corner. We have the full trail. We have a top corner. Where can we put it here? Oh, we can put it up there. And what part shall I use? You can, of course, always turn your stencils upside down, and I think I will just have the buds trailing in from the other side. I know, Zephy, that there is in Greece somewhere, I know, speak to Vasilis and see where he managed to get hold of some stuff. Yes, they will look stunning embossed, the flowers. They also look stunning with texture paste. And there are just so many ways to use them. So that's what I like about the stencil, is you can use bits and pieces of the stencil. Yes, I designed it as an overall picture, but it doesn't have to be used like that. You can use bits and pieces of it, like so. And in fact, now I've got quite a lot of space on this page over here, and I want to add let the future arrive one day at a time. And I'm going to just line it up with the edge of my piece of paper, like so, to make sure that I'm straight. Ordered some resin spray, gesso, and the Lady Vagabond pipes mold last night. Can't wait to play with them in the UK. That's so exciting to know. I just love seeing all the different ways people are using the same products. It is just so exciting. As I said, when I designed these things, I had certain ideas in mind, but of course, to see what people do with it, the public who are buying these things had no idea what I intended when I purchased these things. So, or designed these things when they purchased them. So it is so exciting for me to see. It's everything from diary covers to the book boxes and three-dimensional creations and journal pages and cards and ATCs, and it's endless what people are doing, and it's just so exciting. So please remember to tag me if you can on Instagram. I go under Acorn Crafts. I am trying to sort out somebody is impersonating me on Instagram, because I've been trying to get the Belinda_Basson, and that's when I couldn't understand why I couldn't get it as a name. I couldn't change it from my Acorn Crafts, because Acorn Crafts in South Africa was my business name and has been my handle for 20 years. So I thought, now that I'm working for Stamperia, I should change it to my name, and that's when I discovered, oh, there's an impersonator. You know you've made it when you have impersonators. I mean, they even have the quack of the screen camera shot. Quite crazy. So what I'm going to do is, I have done that quite nicely in the brown. I wonder if I bump it up a bit and pop it to one side, I could get a shadow. So I've done it in the brown, and now I need to go up into, not too much, just a little bit, up and to the right, so that I can create, try and do it evenly, trying to visualize and see that I have done it all the same. Now I'm going to change brushes for my big black brush. Oh yes, Sky Blue. If somebody copies me, I've always seen it as, well, you know, you've made it when somebody copies you. No point in getting upset about it. There's nothing you can do when you have people with no scruples out there. Hopefully people will realize that it's not me. Hello, Matter of Crafts. Hi, Jess. So I'm just, for those of you who've just come in, I am finishing off, and now of course I've got all the time in the world, so now I'm actually playing. I'm adding extra pages to my book from yesterday, from the live stream, and I've decided to add a combination of stamps from the calligraphy line, and yes, sorry, let me finish the sentence. Calligraphy line, and now I'm playing with the Lady Vagabond stencil. So yes, Sophie, they have taken a screenshot of one of my avatars, because I have a few with my very pink hair, and they are going as Belinda_Basson. So they are trying to be me. It's very obvious. I tried to report it, but there was some other glitch. You know, reporting these things, Instagram seems to make it particularly difficult. But anyway, I have tried, and apparently only I can report it. Nobody else can report it. So it's just, I think it's shocking. I mean, I've heard of people's whole photographs and blog and everything being impersonated, and people posting other people's work with even photographs of other people's children and pretending it to be theirs. I mean, really, are the people that desperate out there? So there, so now we have a drop shadow. Can you see it? Can you see the drop shadow? Yes, you can, just. So there's a drop shadow of the brown that I did first, and then the black that I have just done on top. I quite enjoy doing that. So I think that's enough fiddling around. Maybe I need to decide where my book pages are going, and then I will put because there's a little bit of wording up there. It says dream and let the future arrive one day at a time. So it doesn't have to be used together, but I mean, that's enough of a statement on its own. But I think it might be quite nice if I have the dream and on another page. So let's put the book together. Now I have played. Oh, but wait. If it's not me if I haven't inked my edges. Oh dear, yes. Zephy, I am very careful to not upload pictures of my son anymore, unless I get his permission. And you'll notice that my Facebook page and so on has all become about work and my art rather than posting family pictures, because yes, it's a sad, sad world out there, and there are some strange people in this world, and yeah, I don't post family pictures really. Yes, I mean, who would want to pretend that somebody else's projects are theirs, including their kids? I mean, surely people who know them know that those photographs are clearly not their children. I just think that's warped. So yes, I'm afraid to keep our children safe these days, and grandchildren, you can't actually put them online. I know a lot of people don't do that. Yeah, it's a sad, sad world that we live in. Master Jack. There's always a songline. Yesterday in Jess's world, we had Dark Side of the Moon. Made me go and get my Pink Floyd out after that, Jess. It was a good thing. Right, so now we have some edges. We have some decorated pages. And we can start putting the album together. So this is my cover that I created yesterday. And for those who've just joined, I'm going to be gluing my pages together, Zephy. That's why I haven't done the other side. When I was designing this yesterday, I created my little book around the paper spine that came with the print. So I realized, and this is a repeat for those of you who've been in the beginning, so I will just repeat it quickly, that the spine that I was trying to make didn't work because I'm used to making my book pages and then making my spine and finally making my cover to actually fit the book pages that I have created. So being limited by an existing space, I discovered that my normal way of working doesn't work. So I had to rethink the process, and in doing that, I had already prepared all the printed pages that I was going to use, and I was wanting to use them so that I could see that side, the inside, and the outside, so that you would have the benefit of everything. And I realized, nope, that's not going to work. I'm going to have to glue all my pages together to be able to have them fit inside here. And then I thought, well, seeing as I'm going to be gluing them all together and losing that, I might as well have a bit of a play and let's put which one am I going to put the dream and? So let's have the one with the space for the dream and. So that one will go, the one with the let the future arrive one day at a time. We'll put that one there. The let the future arrive one day at a time. So I'm interleafing each of the book, the printed papers with my decorated sheet. So I'm going to glue them all together and do that. So I'm just catching up on the chat. And Lisa, I know Olga has a list as long as her arm of projects she has never finished. She does often take photographs them and post them, like she did of the beautiful bottle that she did at the beginning of that 14-hour-long live stream on the Stamperia Hop. She did post it on Instagram. So if you go on her Instagram, you will quite often see the photos of the pages that she didn't finish. And this one is upside down. Let me just double check that everything else is not upside down, because these have now got out of sync. So I'm going to have that, then that, and that. I don't want to be gluing everything upside down. Then that, more that. Okay, so we're all the right way around. So now I'm going to pull them out, stack them up, and start gluing them together. So get out my favorite glue. And I'm just going to run a little line, and really this glue is so strong that you do not need oodles and oodles of it. And I'm just going to bump them up together on the desk so that they are straight, and so that the spine will be flush. And okay, there we go. Then we'll do the same thing with this one. And so I'm going to go and glue my whole book together. Jess, I was never an album maker before. I will show you because you popped in after I showed them. I normally make these kind of albums for specific projects. So if I've been at a function, if I have attended a class with, for example, Tim Holtz or Finnebear, or been at an event, or done decor for an event, or hosted an event, I will then print all my photographs out and create an album to suit that event. I do not normally do what I'm doing now, which is to make an album, and now I'm starting to build on top because otherwise I'm not going to get my front pages straight. And it's actually this side that's the most important, because when you flip through a book you want those pages, not the spine, flat. Hello Scrap Chick, welcome. Hello Carrie. You make a lot with friends as a group project. That's a nice idea. So yes, my albums are normally project specific. So I will choose paper that is appropriate for that theme. I will choose whether I do the waterfall of photographs or a little folder of photographs to go in it, depending on how many photographs I have, because I like my photographs to tell the story in chronological order. So I print my photographs, work out each page according to my photographs, and then once I have done that, I will develop the spine. And as I said, I usually use the hinged spine concept. It's not the easiest one to do, but I have actually marked off my, what do you call that, scoring board with the marks. Hi Sharon, welcome from Cape Town. So I've actually marked off my scoring board permanently with permanent marker where I need to score for the spine that I do. So there's not too much brain gym involved in that, thank goodness, because that would kill me. Maths is not my forte. Okay, almost done. 2 more pages to glue together. And so yes, my albums are normally very specific. This one I decided to do yesterday because I was inspired by Anna in the YouTube hop for Stamperia, who created 2 mysterious little diaries. And so I used her idea as a jumping point, and then because our subtle theme, which not everybody did, but most of us sort of did a theme. We didn't have a set official theme yesterday of writing or handwriting. Let's make sure this is the right. This one keeps landing upside down. That's so interesting. So our subtle theme yesterday was writing or handwriting, which made me then think of using the calligraphy line. So hi Sharon. Who is Sharon? Is Scrap Chick Sharon? Is yes, no, Scraps to be Beauty. Scraps to Beauty. Sorry, being dyslexic, my eye sees extra letters, so I added an extra B in there by Zandra. Okay, that all makes sense. Oh dear, that I do not miss the southeaster, Sharon. That is one thing I do not miss, is the southeaster that you have in Cape Town. Here in Berlin, the wind hardly blows. I'm just going to wash that black off my fingers. It's a bit of a shock when the wind does blow here, I must say. I was originally born in Johannesburg, in South Africa, where there is not as much wind as Cape Town. Cape Town, the wind is either blowing from the southeast all of summer or the north west all of winter. So there's no getting away from the wind. It's just the direction that changes. So before I go gluing it into my cover, I want to add, because I've used Let the Future Arrive One Day at a Time over there, I want to add the Dream and over there. So I'm going to put it on top of, and I'm not going to do the drop shadow this time because it's already on top of some stencil work. But I am going to use the top of the stencil to line up with the top of my page so that that is straight. Yes, you, like me, Matter of Crafts, Jess, who lands up giving everything away. So I do have sometimes the issue where people say, can I see some of your work? And a lot of my, especially my paintings in South Africa, were commissions or they were sold. So I only have about 5 left of my big paintings that I have brought with me to Berlin. Dream and now we need a dot, dot, dot. That's not on the stencil. There are no dot, dot, dots. How unfortunate. So I'll just dot, 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 and then dot, 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 so people can see that there's a follow on. I'm just reading what black ink am I using for the print. I am using Tim's Distress ink. The one that I'm stenciling with, I'm using that. And so yes, I bag, because of time limits, like I have been talking for nearly an hour and I am nearly finished. As YouTubers and so on, we try not to go over an hour, and when there's a hop like yesterday, we are restricted with time because people have to go on to the next one. It's not fair if we carry on because we haven't finished. It's not the next person's problem if we have not been organized enough to finish. So we do try, and even if we haven't finished, cut off, but I did promise yesterday that I would finish. So you use a hairband to bind the papers together, then in the cover. Your spelling is so bad. Well, I can't read, so spelling is immaterial to me. I add extra letters even if they aren't there. So yes, Gabby, I do try and resolve it. So the last thing I need to do before I finish is I want to be able to tie this together. Now often, let me grab the ones that I have on the floor. Like, Jess, if you're still in the house, this is one that I showed. It is really, really thick. The spine is 4 inches. I usually have some sort of tie mechanism that goes around the outside of my album, whether it is that piece of leather or like this one, I have some ribbon with a buckle. So I normally do have some sort of tie, and this one I've run underneath my paper there, but I've run it over the top here. And in this case, because I don't want to hide my granny's cover, I am going to take a little bit of ribbon. I don't know what you call this ribbon. I call it the Tim Holtz ribbon. Bookbinding ribbon, I think it is, that you can color. And I need enough to make a bow and to go around there. And I'm going to just trim it off. Pop that on one side. And I'm going to just do the smush, spritz ink, whatever color scenario I'm going to use brown, and I'm going to use some black, and I'm going to first spritz my ribbon so that it is damp. Seam binding, thanks Zeffie. Seam binding. So I'm going to first spritz that, then I'm going to spritz that, and then I'm going to dunk it in the brown and dunk it in the black and just get some color all over it so it looks a little bit more vintage. Now this will always dry lighter than you see, so I'm just going to mop everything up off there, clean my mat, and just spray it a little bit more where it's not going right, and then crunch it all up, find my tweezers, do the drying. Yes, there is a name for it, seam binding. I called it book binding because it made sense to me, but I love doing this crinkle ribbon. I love this sort of vintage outcome. You can do this with a lot of different ribbons. I've done it with satin ribbon. I've done it with, as I said, quite a few different ribbons. It's not entirely dry, but that I'm just going to blow dry it a little bit longer, not in quite such a borreltjie, as we call it in Afrikaans, which means tight ball. Yes, in America, there's so many things we can't get in the rest of the world that they take for granted. But then again, there's always things that we can get that they can't get that we take for granted. So that's life. Hopefully that's a bit drier. Let's cool it down. Oh yes, Seffi, I'm going to take you up on that. As soon as this flipping COVID is over, I'm going to escape my flat, preferably to another country. I just like the way the seam binding, when you mix two colors, goes with that. It goes with the colors inside and so on. So now what I'm going to do is, just to hold it in place more than anything else, is because I'm going to be gluing my book covers in there, I need this. Let's just find the middle. The middle's always good. Ish. Okay, so there is the middle. Ish. Find a pen and just mark it. Right, and I have got some double-sided tape I'm going to pop in there. Everything you want. I know, I always find that so funny. So Karen Orpit lives in the States, and having come from Africa, you know, deepest, darkest Africa, where we have lions roaming the streets, I do think that my granny, when she came to visit us in the early 80s, and she lived in the UK, and friends were really worried about her going to deepest, darkest Africa and the lions roaming the street, and she used to rev them on and say it's okay. I can't even repeat some of the stories. So coming from deepest, darkest Africa, we always thought that we were seriously behind in everything, and everybody who lived in Europe and America and the rest of the world had everything that we couldn't get. And then I arrived in Europe and discovered actually South Africa is not that far behind, and that the Americans don't have it all. It was quite a wake-up call. Oh yes, Murphy's Law follows us everywhere. And he's free of charge, yes. I did actually once even Google who was Murphy, and he was a major in the army, apparently. So now I have that. I don't even know if that's straight. It's straight enough. Now, I'm not going to glue where my spine is, because you do not want your spine to stick to that. When you open your book, you need your spine to be flexible enough to be able to bend like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm and again, this could go horribly wrong, like yesterday's live did. You've made a whole lot of seam binding, different colors, and you never use them. I love them. I use them on tags. Oh, and I, of course, can't get anything out if the lid is on. So now I'm going to be a little bit, oh, and this glue is so strong and thick that you really have to squeeze it quite hard. So I'm going to squeeze out a lot of glue, and because it's the cover, I want it to stick well. I'm going to line my cover up, and I can see that I'm going to get some oozing there, so I'm just going to get rid of that, and I'm going to line my cover up like so. My inside pages are ever so much slightly smaller than my outside pages, and then so that I don't have glue mess everywhere, I always squeeze the excess out with some roller towel, because I hate glue marks. It's just a personal thing that I don't like. Right, so I've now got my inside cover attached, and then I'm going to do the same with this cover, and I'm going to glue it over there, and then ta-da, my book will be finished. I can still add lots of fiddly bits because I've got some other bits to add. Yes, Vina in her part of the world really struggles to get hold of products. So there are crafters out there who do struggle to get their hands on things that the rest of us take for granted in the rest of the world. So you see, there's always somebody worse off than us. And the next theme may be a few words to Big Brother. Okay, so now I need to make sure that my cover fits the back of my album. So I'm going to pull it so that it sits flush like so. You probably can't see what I'm doing, but I will tell you that I am lining things up to fit. And then I will close it and squish it. And so now let's just line it up. So now my inside cover is hiding the seam binding, and oh, wouldn't it be nice if Vina wins a pizza box? That would solve a lot of problems. And I did see on Radovan, when they were doing Radovan's live on Friday, that there's a pizza box full of the beautiful winter tales. Okay, so one has to have dreams, hey, because I know Lalavie, who's on the chat, she won and received hers on Wednesday. So you have to be in it to win it. So, right, so now I have that I can tie shut, and I have my little book, my little tiny book. So I've interlaced it with the stamping that I did today, and I have the pocket, and I have the stamping and stencil work, and here we go. So each page has something on it. And now it all works and behaves itself like a good little book should. And there we have it. So you see, I would have needed 2 hours yesterday to do what I've done, because I did an hour of faffing. Mind you, if I hadn't faffed with this concept, I probably could have got this done. But you never know. Not everything that one dreams up and engineers in one's head comes to fruition. So there we are. Project finished. Project done. And we can tie a pretty little bow Easier said than done, apparently. Ta-da! Dun, dun, dun. Finished. Push back and clear. Don't forget to put my lid back on my glue. And there we go. Finished. My little cute book. I think I'll put the date over there. Hope you enjoyed that. And oh, it was lovely to catch up with you, Zephy. And yes, take care, everybody. And stay well and healthy and safe. Thanks for joining me today, everybody. It's been fun. And I got to finish my project. Bye for now. I'm still here and I saw that, and yes, a bird would fit perfectly.